Hey guys, welcome back to another Bearded Brewing, and today's we're going to talk about Marrow-Gnawer. This is a 2 black and 3 rat rogue. It's power 2, toughness 3. He gives all of our rats fear. We can tap him to sacrifice a rat. We can put X 1/1 black creature tokens, rat creature tokens into play, where X is the number of rats we already control. So if you guys didn't know, this is a rat tribal deck. Here we go. We're going to start off by talking about 13 rat colonies. This is a black and 1, 2/1 rat creature token. It gets +1/+0 for each other rat that we control, and a deck can have any number of cards named rat colony. Now there's another rat similar to this called Relentless Rat. I went with rat colony mostly because of its combo potential. That 1 toughness kind of goes along with a lot of things that are in the deck, so just getting that easy to kill synergy going with the deck kind of makes it a little easier to work with. Next up, we're going to talk about all the other rats that are in the deck, because I didn't just fill it with rat colonies, because, I mean, come on. There's more to life than 1 card. We did Crypt Rats, which is black and 2. This is a 1/1 rat with a X mana ability. It deals X damage to each creature and each player. Spend only black mana on X. Now I'll go ahead and tell you guys there's a lot of mana doublers, a lot of mana, just free mana producers in the deck. So we're going to have a lot of mana to sink into Crypt Rats. This can end us the game as long as we've got a couple things with lifelink going, boost our life over everyone else's. We can end the game with Crypt Rats, or we could just do enough to board wipe and put everyone real low, just make the game go really quickly, whatever we're feeling at the moment. Next up is Pack Rat. Pack Rat is a black and 1. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of rats we control. So if we've got 10 rats, it's 10/10. We also get the ability of black and 2 to discard a card, put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of Pack Rat. So essentially Pack Rat is just going to get bigger and bigger, and we can make more and more of them. Incredibly useful to our deck's strategy. Next up is Pestilence Rats. This is a black and 2 star 3 rat creature token, or rat creature. Its power is equal to the total number of other rats in play, and this is all rats in play. So this is our rats, their rats. Any rat that's in play adds to the power of Pestilence Rat. Next up is going to be Swarm of Rats. This is black and 1. This is a star 1. Swarm of Rats' power is equal to the number of rats you control. So, if we have 10 rats, it's going to be a 10/1. This is a nice, good power card to have, because we're planning on making a lot of rat tokens if you haven't figured that out. Next is going to be Ink Eye, Servant of Oni. This is a black and 4 for a 5/4 rat ninja. She has ninjutsu black and 3. Ninjutsu is just whenever we attack with a creature that's unblocked, we can return the unblocked creature to our hand and put this card into play from our hand tapped and attacking. It essentially replaces the attacking creature with this creature, as long as we pay, the ninjutsu cost. Now, whenever Ink Eyes does damage to a player, combat damage, you may put a target creature card from that player's graveyard into play under our control. So we can take their stuff from their graveyard. We have a black and 1 that lets us regenerate Ink Eyes just in case they have something that can stop it. Next up is another ninjutsu card, Throat Slitter. It's black and 4 by itself, but it can also become a black and 2 if we do ninjutsu. It's a 2/2. Now, whenever it deals combat damage, we get to Doomblade something. We get to destroy target non-black creature that player controls. It's kind of useful to have, getting rid of problem creatures and stuff like that. Next up, Ichor Rats. Actually, we'll go ahead and do the other one as well. We have Ichor Rats and we have Septic Rats. And these are both 2 black and 1s. One's a 2/1, one's a 2/2. They both have Infect. When Ichor Rats hits the battlefield, each player will get a poison counter. When Septic Rats attacks an opponent that's already poisoned, it'll get +1/+1 till end of turn. So these are 2 rats that I put in just for an alternate win. We like to have a more than one way to win. Next up is Ear Splitting Rats, and I'll be honest with you guys, I put it in here mostly for its flavor text. Rats come in one amount. Too many. It's a black and 3 for a 2/1. When it hits the battlefield, comes into play, each player will discard a card from their hand. We can also discard a card from our hand to regenerate it. So it will add to the graveyard for, Ink Eyes' effect. But it's also a really fun flavor text. Next up is going to be we'll actually do both of them here. We'll do Typhoid and Rancid Rat. Rancid Rat is a black and 1, Skulk Death Touch 1/1. Typhoid Rat is just a 1-drop black Death Touch 1/1. So they're just easy early value in the game, especially with that Death Touch mechanic. It'll either keep people from attacking you or let you get a couple of free attacks in. So hey, that ninjutsu could probably activate earlier. Next up, we're going to talk about the creatures that are not rats in the deck. And first one's going to be Ayara, First of Lochthwain. This is a triple black 2/3 elf noble. Whenever she or another black creature enters the battlefield under our control, each opponent will lose a life and will gain a life. So all those rat creature tokens that we're making with Marrow-Gnawer, they are black rat creature tokens. So every time one of those hits the battlefield, we're going to gain a life and they're going to lose a life. We can also tap her to sack another black creature and draw a card. So we're going to get a little bit of card draw and a lot of life drain from everybody, which is nice. And speaking of dealing damage to everybody, we're going to do Sir Conrad next. Sir Conrad the Grim. He's a human knight, 2 black and 3 for a 5/4. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves our graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim will deal 1 damage to each opponent. We can play a black and 1 to have each player put the top card of their library into the graveyard. So that's also really nice to have. We can do damage to everybody. And we can also add into the graveyard. Helps us with our Ink Eyes effect. Alright, and the next card we're going to talk about is, we'll actually do both of them here because they kind of do the same thing. Blood Artist and Zulaport Cutthroat. They're both black and 1. Blood Artist is a vampire that's 0/1. Whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, target player loses a life and will gain a life. Zulaport Cutthroat does the same thing, except it hits everybody. Both are very valuable to have because we're going to be killing a lot of our rats off to get this value. Alright, and our next card is going to be Gary, or Grey Merchant of Asphodel as most people know him. He's a 2 black and 3 for a 2/4 zombie. When he hits the battlefield, each opponent will lose X life, where X is our devotion to black. We're in a mono black deck, we're going to have devotion to black going on. We'll also gain the life equal to the life everyone lost that way, which is nice. Let's say we hit everybody for 10, we just gain 30. How about that? Alright, and then next card we'll talk about is the Magus of the Coffers. We'll actually talk about both. We'll talk about Magus of the Coffers and Crypt Ghast. These are just essentially mana value cards that I put in the deck. One's a human wizard, the black and 4 for a 4/4. He's Cabal Coffers on a creature. Pay 2 and tap him to add a black to our mana pool for each swamp we control. Crypt Ghast comes in with an extort ability. And then we also can tap our swamps for an additional black. So we'll get double mana from our swamps, which is extremely valuable, by the way, in a mono black color. The next one we're going to talk about are 2 Ogre Brothers. We're going to have Rat Catcher and Ogre Slumlord. Rat Catcher is an Ogre Rogue, 2 black and 4 for a 4/4. He has Fear, and at the beginning of our upkeep, he'll let us tutor for a rat card, reveal it, and put it to our hand. If we do, shuffle our library. Ogre Slumlord, whenever a non-token creature dies, we can put a 1/1 black rat creature token on the battlefield, and it gives all of our rats Death Touch. So these are both just very, very rat-friendly cards that are very valuable for their strategies here. Next up is going to be Priest of Forgotten Gods. This is a black 1 human cleric for a 1/2. We can tap her and sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players, each will lose 2 life, and sacrifice a creature. So obviously we're going to pick everybody. You can add 2 black mana and draw a card as well. So this is going to be extra mana, it's going to be card draw, and we get to drain our opponent's lives, which is nice. And we actually get rid of one of their creatures. Alright, and next up are 2 other rat value cards that I'm going to talk about. There's going to be Piper of the Swarm. It's a black 1/1/3. He gives all of our rats menace. There's a bit of a glare because he's foily, isn't it? Ooh. We can pay black and 1 and tap him to create a 1/1 black rat creature token. We can tap 2 black and 2 and tap him as well. Sacrifice 3 rats. Gain control of target creature. Chittering Witch is a black and 3. When Chittering Witch enters the battlefield, we'll create a number of 1/1 black rat creature tokens equal to the number of opponents we have, which, depending on your pod, can be anywhere between 1, 2, 3, 4, however many people you have besides you, essentially. Black and 1 to sack a creature. Target creature will get -2/-2 until end of turn. So it gets rid of some of the smaller creatures that are out there that could be causing problems, mana dorks, things like that. Next up, we're going to talk about artifacts. The first artifact we're going to talk about is Thornbite's Staff. Thornbite's Staff is a 2-drop equipment. Equipped creature will get 2 mana and tap. This creature will deal 1 damage to target creature or player. It also has, whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this creature. Now, that effect, along with Marrow-Gnawer, produces infinite rats. You can tap it and sack a rat, and hey, a creature hit the graveyard. We can now untap him, and guess what? We can tap him again. If we do a token, tokens do technically hit the graveyard before they check and cease to exist. So we'll get to continue to do this combo as many times as we wish, essentially creating infinite rats. What do we do with infinite rats? Besides, swing at people. If we wanted to swing at people, we can always, coat arms and boom, we got tons of value. Coat arms is that 5-drop that gives a creature +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares a creature type with it. So we have 5 rats, they all get +4/+4. What else can we do with it? We can also sacrifice them to one of our altars. Let me switch it this way so the glare's not so bad. Phyrexian Altar is a 3-drop artifact. Sack a creature, add 1 mana of any color. Astronaut's Altar is a 3-drop artifact. Sack a creature, add 2 colorless to our mana pool. So with infinite rats, we can make infinite mana. Speaking of mana, we'll also put down Soul Ring and Gilded Lotus. I'm going to let Gilded Lotus be in the glare or Soul Ring, because we know what Soul Ring does. Soul Ring is a 1-drop, add 2 colorless. Gilded Lotus is a 5-drop, add 3 mana of any one color. You can guess which color it's going to be. Ooh, we're going to have a little bit of a mess here, sorry. Next up is Cloud Key. This is a 3-drop artifact. When it comes into play, we can choose artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, or sorcery. Spells of that chosen type cost 1 less to play. This helps us get some of our rats out earlier. This helps us get out more rats at a time. Or if we want to do our artifacts or our enchantments, it makes them come out a turn early, which is nice to have. Next up, we'll talk about Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp is just a value card in this deck. It's going to be a 1-drop equipment. It equips for 1. It'll give that creature +1/-1, which if we have our 1/1 rat token, it'll die. But whenever an equipped creature dies, we draw 2 cards. So this helps us refill our hand. This helps us keep drawing into our combo pieces so we can win the game. The next one is going to be Cryptic Gateway, which was a card I actually found by accident, but it's actually really, really interesting in this deck. It'll fit in any tribal deck. It's a 5-drop artifact. You can tap 2 untapped creatures you control, and then you may put a creature card from your hand into play that shares a creature type with each creature tapped that way. So if we tap 2 rats, we can put a rat out. If we tap 2 rogues, we can put a rogue out. Essentially, that will fit in any tribal deck that you play. But I put it in rats for fun. Next up is going to be Herald's Horn, another good, strong tribal card. This is a 3-drop artifact. When it enters the battlefield, we're going to choose a creature type. Probably going to be rats for this case. Creature spells you cast with that type are 1 less to cast. And at the beginning of our upkeep, we look at the top card of our library. If it's a creature card of that chosen type, you can reveal it and put it into our hand. If it's not, we just essentially get a free scry, which is nice. We like to know what's in our deck at all times, right? Next one's going to be a Chroma's Memorial. I did this mostly to just make them stupid, make their bats stupid, because who doesn't want a swarm of rats that have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and from red? That's insane. It is 7-drop artifact, but as you guys see, we have plenty of ways of making mana, so we're not too worried about the cost. The last artifact is going to be Whip of Erebos. It's a 2 black and 2 legendary enchantment artifact. He gives all of our this artifact gives all of our creatures lifelink. And also for 2 black and 2 and tapping this artifact will let us return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield. It'll have haste. It exiles at the beginning of the next end step. If it leaves the battlefield at any time, we exile it instead of putting it anywhere else, and we activate this ability only time that we would do a sorcery. And I'll be honest with you, we really only want it for the lifelink. But, you know, we can use that other ability if we want, but come on, we're just going to do it for the lifelink. Speaking of enchantments, we're going to move on to enchantments. See how I did that? First enchantment's going to be Black Market. You can't really have a mono black deck without Black Market. It's a 2 black and 3 enchantment. Whenever a creature card is put into the graveyard from play, you put a charge counter. This is our creatures, this is their creatures, this is just creatures in general. Now, at the beginning of our pre-combat main phase, we'll get a black into our mana pool for each charge counter on Black Market. It's just essentially value, getting that extra mana, getting free mana. Who doesn't like free mana, right? Especially in our color. The next 2 cards we're going to talk about essentially do the same thing. We have Dictate of Erebos and Grave Pact. Dictate is 2 black and 3 with flash. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent will sack a creature. Then Grave Pact is 3 black and 1. Whenever a creature you control is put into the graveyard, so whenever a creature we control dies, each other player will sack a creature. So this helps get rid of Indestructible. This just helps clear the board. Because we're killing stuff anyway. We want our stuff to die. So why not make everybody else sack their stuff? Come on, let's have fun. The next card is going to be Pheresis. This is a black and 1 enchantment aura. This will give our creature Infect, and you see how many cards, how many of our rats just get a boon for each other rat in play. So we can put this on one of our rats. It becomes, you know, a 10-1 rat colony. Give it Pheresis. Boom, we can kill someone right there in one shot. It's fun. Infect is fun. You can't convince me otherwise. Next up is Phyrexian Arena. 2 black and 1. Beginning of our upkeep, we can draw an extra card and we'll lose a life. It's just getting us that extra card draw. We want to draw into our combo pieces as soon as we can. And speaking of combo pieces, when we get that infinite mana with our combo, what are we going to do with it? What else can we sink our mana into? Well, let's sink it into Torment of Hellfire. 2 black and X. Repeat the following process X number of times. Each opponent will lose 3 life unless that player sacks a non-land permanent or discards a card. So we can just outright win the game. Are you alright down there? Sorry, my dog just coughed. So, just checking on her. We can end the game outright with Torment of Hellfire. And if we don't outright win the game, we definitely hurt our opponents. Next one is Gruesome Fate. If we make all those rat tokens and then we play this card, we win. It's a black and 2. Each opponent will lose a life for each creature you control. So if we make all those different ones, come on. We're going to be definitely done. Also, the flavor text actually fits in. You were keen enough to sink your fangs into us, vampire, and now you're afraid of a few little nibbles. Udville, Ratty Ratlock. Wonder how he got the nickname Ratty Ratlock. Anyway, let's not diverge too much. Next up, we're going to talk about, these are 4 different cards, but I don't have screen room to put them all on the field at the same time, so we'll talk about each one. Dark Petition. This is a 2 black and 3. It's a tutor. We're going to search our library for a card, put it into our hand, shuffle our library. If we have 2 or more instant or sorceries, we'll add 3 black to our mana pool. So getting that mana, that extra mana is really nice. The next one's going to be, Increasing Ambition. It's a black and 4. We get the tutor. Now, if we cast this for a flashback cost out of the graveyard, we get the tutor for 2 cards. So this card, over the course of a game, can net us 3 cards that we select from our deck, which is essentially, you know, our game-winning pieces. Speaking of getting our game-winning pieces, Behold Beyond, 2 black and 5. We discard our whole hand, search our library for 3 cards, put those into our hand, then shuffle. So this lets us go and find the 3 combo pieces or the 3 pieces we need to just outright win the game. Next up is Diabolic Revelation. With the amount of mana we make, I found that this card was extremely useful. It is 2 black and 3 and X, X being the number of cards that you want to tutor for. But you get to search for those cards, put them directly into your hand. So that's really nice to have in this kind of deck. Next up is going to be our instants. And I did Dark Ritual. It's a 1-drop instant. We can add 3 black to our mana pool. And a lot of times, a lot of people in Commander will say this card's not good. I think this card will work very well in our deck, especially if we get it early turn. Because it'll let us straight up put down a rat colony, let us put down one of our altars. It lets us get a little bit of extra value right off the bat. We'll also have Altar's Reap, black and 1. As an additional cost, we have the sack a creature, which we're okay with. And we get to draw 2 cards. And so getting that extra card draw is nice, especially early game. We have Hero's Downfall. Now this is pretty much one of the only single target removals. I do have one other one, but I kind of just went for, we're going to swarm you with rats and you can't do anything about it. So this destroys target creature or planeswalker. That's 2 black and 1. Getting rid of destroyed planeswalkers is nice. Just outright destroying planeswalkers. Next is Defile. This is a single black instant. We can put a -1/-1, or each creature will get -1/-1, excuse me, until the end of turn for each swamp that we control. And we're going to have swamps. Next is our planeswalker, Liliana of the Dark Realms. 2 black and 2. We can +1 her to search our library for a swamp, reveal it, put it to our hand, then shuffle the library. So we'll never miss a land drop. -3 will give target creature +X/+X or -X/-X, depending on the amount of swamps we control. So we can either creature removal or we can boon our own creatures for game-winning potential. And the -6 is you get an emblem with swamps you control, have tap to add 4 black to our mana pool. So this is just a very, very ramp card. Very, very rampy card. And I have to apologize. I skipped 2 sorceries because they were off to the side because I'm a dummy. But I'll just do them both at the same time. There are board wipes. It's 2 black and 7 for Ingoric's Weight. Destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. It's a one-sided board wipe that gives you a lot of advantage. It is 9 mana, but hey, you guys saw how much mana we're making. The other one's Kindred Dominance, 2 black and 5. Choose a creature type. Destroy all creatures that are not of that chosen type. And guess what? We'll probably choose rats. Alright, now let's get over to our special lands. These are the lands that are not basic that we have in the deck. And you can't really do it without Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. This turns all of our lands into swamps. So that's really nice to have. And especially with the cards you just heard of that we need swamps for. Boom, we have that value. Next up is Cabal Stronghold, because I am too bored to buy Cabal Coffers. It is tap to add a colorless, or you can pay 3 and tap it to add a black for each basic swamp you control. You can get Cabal Coffers if you have the money for it. More power to you. I am not that fortunate. Next is going to be Nykthos, Shrine the Nyx. Taps to add colorless, or we can tap 2 and choose a color. Add your mana pool an amount of mana that is equal to that devotion of that mana. So if we have, 3 rat colonies, we can tap this for 3 mana. I wouldn't activate Nykthos for more than 4, honestly. But that's just me. Next up is Thespian's Stage. I did this so we can get multiple copies of our Cabal Coffers, of our Nykthos, or one of these other lands that we're going to be showing here in just a second. Just getting an extra copy of some of these special lands is really nice to have in the deck. Which we also have is Ghost Quarter. We can tap to add a black, or tap to add a colorless, excuse me. And then we can sacrifice Ghost Quarter, destroy a land. Its controller may search its library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle the library. This gets rid of, their Glacial Chasms, their Nykthos, any of their special lands that we, don't want them to have. Because we're mean like that. We'll also put in Swarmyard, which is really hilarious that I found this card. It's a tap to add a colorless, and then you can regenerate an insect, rat, spider, or squirrel. And having this card makes me want to build a squirrel deck. I've had a spider deck before, and it was not good. I may rebuild it now that there's more spiders coming up. But anyway, we use this for rats. It helps keep our rats in play longer. Next up is Crypt of Agadeem. It enters the battlefield, and we can tap it for a black, and we can tap 2 and add black to our mana pool for each black creature card in our graveyard. Which, as you guys saw, we have a lot of creatures that we can put into the graveyard that are not going to be tokens. So we can get some use out of Crypt. Next is going to be Westvale Abbey, and I'll show you guys what it transforms to in just a second. We tap it to add a colorless to our mana pool. We can pay 5 and tap to pay a life and put a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield. Then we can tap 5 and it to sacrifice 5 creatures and transform it and untap it into silence as we wait. Ormondal, Profane Prince. Is flying, lifelink, indestructible, haste, demon, 9/7. Colin, this is not a rat. I know it's not a rat, but with as many rat tokens as we have, I'd be a fool not to put something like that in the deck. The next one, as I sleeve this back up, we'll talk about Reliquary Tower. Now, there's enough card draw on the deck that I thought this was going to be useful to have, just because, hey, as much as we're tutoring, as much as we're drawing, I don't want to have to lose this stuff if I miscount on my mana. So having an unlimited hand size is nice to have. And hey, if someone plays a Jinky Taxis, I've got the right counter for it. And then we're also running 24 swamps. And we'll just whoop. There we go, 24 swamps. Pick whatever swamp you want. I did mostly shiny and full arts because that was my way of being fancy with the deck. And I already had the cards, so why not? But alright guys, this is Marrow-Gnawer. If you guys have any other questions or any other tips or tricks for it, let me know. Put it in the comments. I'll try to have a deck list with it when I post it. But for right then, we'll see you guys later.